I'm Serio, and I'm a printmaker. While there are many forms of printmaking, I enjoy making reduction block prints, which is a form of relief printing. To begin, I start by drawing my design on the surface of the block, marking the areas that will stay and be printed, and those that will be carved away and not printed. I use a carving tool like this one to carve away the parts of the block that will not receive ink. Ink is applied to the surface of the block using a special roller called a brayer. The ink I use for my work, as you can see here, is a thick oil-based ink. It must be rolled out into a thin layer before it's rolled across the surface of the block. Paper is placed on top of the inked block, and it is passed through the manually operated printing press. Then, you slowly pull back the paper and reveal the print. I spend hours combing through my reference images to create the most powerful pieces possible. Here is the start and the finish, from reference photo to a finished 11-color reduction block print. In a reduction print like this one, with 11 layers, a complex set of steps must be followed to complete the piece. I start by mixing up the ink. Using just black and white, I mix up 11 unique shades of ink. This is done by using a palette knife to fold this stiff oil-based ink over and over to mix it. I have to make test strips to ensure I'm keeping my shades the same as previous prints so they are as uniform as possible. Now I'll print the first layer. This is an almost white layer of ink printed onto 100% cotton paper. Once the first layer is printed, the block is now ready to be carved. Hours of slow and careful carving, often with a small 1 mm wide V-shaped blade, gradually expose the image for printing. In a reduction print, you must print from the lightest color to the darkest. So for the second layer, I'll draw and carve away the lightest area. Then the block is inked with the next darkest color. After each layer has taken several days to dry, I can start printing again. I line the blocks by hand to print the next layer. The paper and block pass through the press, and I pull back the paper, exposing the newest layer printed. Then the block is carved again, and the process starts over. This process of printing, drawing, carving, and printing again repeats over and over for each layer. Slowly, the image will start to appear. Printmaking is a physical art, and one that requires planning. Now, the final step, after every layer has been carved and printed, is to title, sign, and number. In my work, the titles are carefully constructed and just as important of an element as the image itself. For example, one more transaction going down. A look at how easily a 14-year-old girl is bought and sold. The lines on his face tell the story of his pain. A simple portrait of a young male victim trapped in a life he did not choose. Trapped in the amber of this moment. A snapshot of a moment in the life of a young victim. The end's beginning. A look at the last moment of a young man before he ends up in the world of human trafficking. Share my work across the country, and hopefully creating a dialogue between the work and the viewer so that they leave with a new respect for the issue at hand. People must connect with the victims, taking in what they feel emotionally and physically in order to bring an end to the social injustice. By visually showing the public what is happening right here in our hometowns every day, it opens up the opportunity for discussion and education. I am attempting to create a linear story depicting the male and female victim, the female trafficker, the minor victims. Each print tells its own unique story, but also pushes and pulls the viewer into the piece next to it when exhibited together. I invite you to follow along online on Facebook, as well as get step-by-step updates on Instagram and Twitter. You can also purchase prints by visiting my website.